So thanks, and welcome to the webinar. We really want to talk about this whole idea of, are we setting ourselves up for another issue within the industry? Semiconductors, it's not like we need fewer of them. We need more of them and a lot more of them. And it seems that every industry is going through this right now. And a lot of that supply comes out of Taiwan. So I'm going to turn it over, John. Maybe you'll start with a slide or two, but John and I, coming from the automotive industry, we've seen what Fukushima did to turn the entire industry upside down, and that was one fab plant. So, John, why don't you give us a little bit of context here?
Sounds good. Next slide, please. If you look at the number of semiconductors that come out of Taiwan today, in the world market, it's almost 1 in 10. And that risk is especially pronounced when you start looking at companies that have outsourced their semiconductor manufacturing to what they call foundries. And if you look at that slide on the right-hand side, TSMC and Taiwan make up a huge capacity for these firms, high-tech firms like Apple, Qualcomm, and NVIDIA that outsource their semiconductor manufacture, and the vast proportion of that is coming from Taiwan.
What's the issue? I mean, just to ask the obvious question, I think it's in the title of the program, but it's a little subtle. What's the issue? Why do we care about, are we worried about another a flood or a tsunami or nuclear level? Yeah.
The issue is
John?
Potentially interruption of the supply chain from Taiwan by China. And China and Taiwan have been engaged in military exercises, and the secure supply from Taiwan has a question mark after it.
Automotive is unique in the respect that because we're a high volume and sensitive price-wise market, what ends up happening is we don't use a lot of these high-end chips that may be made in places like the United States. We're going to go to places that we can get some of the lower end chips in great quantity and get the best possible prices for it. So that further complicates or adds to this whole situation at Taiwan. So that's kind of a little bit more context, but why don't we go to the next set of slides? Alex, maybe you can hit this a little bit.
Eric, I just want to give a little personal, go back to the previous slide.
Sure.
You're talking about semiconductors in the automotives. So in a Tesla, I have a Tesla. And last week, the guy had come out to change tires and stuff. But he says, we have received a signal from your car because when you are trying to charge the car, the little pins that connect, one of them is not working. And it was very interesting that the car sends a signal to the service department, and he knows about it, and I didn't even know about it.
And Alex, why don't you jump in here?
Yeah, so I think just more points we already touched. If you guys look what the supply chain impact due to pandemic, we had a pandemic, and then right after pandemic we had a war between Ukraine and Russia. So anywhere you go right now in semiconductor, there's a supply chain constraint from quartz manufacturing to chemistry to vessels to any others, and that supply chain really impacting the end product. We all know how, from automotive perspective, cars are not easy to get, and always when I was buying a car, I always look at depreciation curve. Right, if I want to go and buy a used car, I look at how the car is depreciated. First year, 3 years, 5 years, so on and so forth. Right now, that chart is completely irrelevant because the used cars are appreciated, which is kind of unheard of. From my perspective, I've never seen that before. And the car's getting more expensive because of scarcity of cars due to semiconductors. But anywhere you look at right now, that the supply chain is a concern. So